Let me tell you about the time I decided to try a new coffee shop. I didn't even like coffee that much. That's the part that makes this story feel like fate or irony or whatever word people use. When life shoves you somewhere you didn't plan. To bay mean coffee was fine, but I fancy myself more of a tea person. No foam art, no complicated orders, no caffeine jitters that made my hands shake during meetings. There was a small corner coffee shop 2 blocks from my office that I recently noticed on my morning commute. The morning I walked in for the first time, I wasn't even looking for a drink. I was looking for somewhere to sit that wasn't my car because I'd just found out I was probably getting laid off. Probably is a terrible word. It doesn't let you panic properly, but it doesn't let you relax either. It just hangs over your head like a loose ceiling tile. So I parked, stared at my steering wheel for 10 minutes, and then wandered down the street like a ghost with a business casual dress code. That's when I saw the chalkboard sign outside the cafe. Monday Survival Special. Free smile with every drink under. That in smaller handwriting. If you don't get one, tell Madeline. She takes it personally. I don't know why that made me laugh, but it did for the first time all morning. So, I went. The bell over the door made that soft little ding sound that only exists in cozy places and Christmas movies. The shop smelled like espresso, cinnamon, and something sweet I couldn't place. Banana bread, maybe? The atmosphere was warm. String lights along the shelves. Mismatched chairs. A corkboard wall full of Polaroids and handwritten notes. That's when I saw Madeline. She was behind the counter, sleeves pushed up. Dark hair and a messy bun that looked accidental but probably wasn't. She was laughing at something an older man was saying while she drew a leaf in the foam of his latte like it was second nature. She had the kind of smile that didn't feel like customer service. It was like when she smiled at you, she actually saw you stepped in line, and when it was my turn, she leaned on the counter a little and said, "Hi there. What's your survival strategy today?" I blinked. "I'm sorry." She gestured to the sign outside. Monday's Survival. Are we doing coffee? An emotional support pastry. I huffed out a laugh before I could stop myself. Dealer's choice? I trust you with my fate. Bold move, she said. Name Gil? Well, Gail, she said, punching something into the register. You'll look like someone who needs a medium latte, 1 pump of vanilla, and a slice of banana bread. That specific, huh? I have a gift, she said, solemnly. I stepped aside and tried not to stare while she worked. She moved fast, but calm, like someone who'd done this 1,000 times, but still cared about getting it right, when she handed me the cup. There was a foam heart on top, free smile included. She said, smiling aguai. Felt something in my chest. Thanks, I said. I actually needed that. Her expression softened just a little. Rough day. Rough year, I said before I could filter myself. She nodded like she understood more than I'd said. Well, we specialize in temporary life improvement. Seats by the window are best for dramatic staring. I nodded and took my drink and sat by the window as instructed for 20 whole minutes. I didn't think about layoffs. I watched people walk by. I listened to the low hum of conversation and the hiss of the espresso machine. I ate banana bread that might have actually fixed something chemical in my brain. I was halfway through my latte when the piece shattered. The door banged open hard enough to rattle the bell. A guy in a sharp suit strode in like the place personally owed him money. There was a Bluetooth piece in his ear, and he was already mid-complaint. I don't care what they told you. Just move the meeting. He stopped at the counter, didn't even look at the menu, and snapped his fingers. Madeline's smile dimmed. Drop, but it changed. Tightened at the edges. I'll be right with you, she said calmly. Finishing up another customer's order, He rolled his eyes dramatically and started pacing, checking his watch every 20 seconds like he was timing an emergency surgery when it was his turn. He slapped his phone down on the counter. Large caramel macchiato. Extra hot. Extra caramel, and make it fast. I'm already late because the parking around here is a joke. Madeline nodded. We'll do our best. No, do it fast, he said. Last time I came in here, you people took 10 minutes. I felt my jaw tighten from across the shop. She kept her voice even. We make everything fresh, but I'll prioritize it. Yeah, you better, he muttered. Saw her hands move a little quicker, but she didn't rush sloppily. She made the drink, added the caramel drizzle, put the lid on, and slid it over. Careful, it's very hot. He took one sip, then he made a face like he'd just been personally betrayed. This isn't hot enough. I can remake it, she said immediately. It should be right the first time, he snapped. What are you even doing back there? I was already half out of my seat. Madeline reached for the cup. I'm sorry about that, he jerked it back. Forget it. I don't have time for this. Then he looked at the tip jar. Empty, except for a couple of singles. He snorted. Figures. And he walked out. The bell dinged again, softer. This time the shop was quiet once more. Madeline stood still for a second, watching after him. Then exhaled slowly and turned to the next customer like nothing happened. But her smile didn't reach her eyes anymore. I'm not a confrontational guy. I return food if it's wrong by apologizing to the waiter. But I grabbed my wallet, walked up to the counter, and dropped a 20 into the tip jar for the emotional labor surcharge. I said. She looked up, surprised. Then she laughed for real this time. You don't have to do that. I know, I said. But he was a jerk, and you handled it like a pro. She leaned on the counter again. Occupational hazard. Coffee brings out two types of people. The kind who say thank you, and the kind who think foam art is a personality flaw. Well, for what it's worth, I said, holding up my cup. This might be the best decision I've made all week. She tilted her head. Low bar. Extremely. She smiled again. Come back tomorrow. I'll try to raise it. And that's how it started. Not with fireworks or dramatic music. Just a bad day, a good latte, and a woman named Madeline who made a coffee shop feel like a sanctuary. Had no idea. I'd just stepped into a place that was about to become the center of the most stressful, infuriating, and ultimately life-changing mess I'd ever been part of. Went back the next day. I told myself it was for the coffee, but I knew in my heart it was not for the coffee bean. There became my morning routine within a week. Same time, same seat by the window when it was free. Madeline started making my drink when I walked in. Vanilla latte for Gail, she'd say, sliding it over like we were in on a secret. We started talking in small pieces. 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there, if the shop was slow. I learned she owned the place. That surprised me. She didn't have the stressed, frantic energy I associated with small business owners. She said she bought it 3 years ago from an older couple who retired. I wanted something that felt like mine, she told me one morning while wiping down the counter. Not a cubicle. Not a boss who says we're a family right before cutting your hours. I choked on my coffee. Too real. She pointed at me. You've worked retail? Tech? Support? She winced. Oh, I'm so sorry. We laughed. But not everyone in the shop had her energy. There was another barista I started noticing more the second week. Tall guy with perfect hair. Always looking slightly annoyed to be alive. His name tag said Trent the first time I saw him interact with Madeline. Something felt off. She asked him gently to restock the pastry case. He sighed, like she'd asked him to donate a kidney. Yeah, in a minute, he said, scrolling on his phone. She didn't push. Just nodded, and did it herself 5 minutes later. I didn't like him. No logical reason, just vibes. The shop had regulars, mostly college students, an older woman who knitted in the corner, and a dad who brought his kid in every Friday for a hot chocolate date. It felt like a little ecosystem. Then Mr. Not Hat Enough came back. I was there when he walked in again. Same suit, same Bluetooth earpiece, same storm cloud aura. He didn't even pretend to be polite. Make it right this time, he said. Slapping his card on the counter before ordering, Madeline kept her tone. Professional, what can I get for you? He rattled off a complicated drink, adding, at the end, and don't mess it up. Trent was on bar that day. He rolled his eyes after turning away from the counter, but Madeline shot him a quick look. That said, please don't. The guy hovered at the pickup counter, watching every move like a supervisor. When Trent handed over the drink, the man took a sip. Then, without a word, he pulled the lid off and dumped the entire thing into the trash can beside the counter. The sound of liquid hitting plastic was loud in the quiet shop. This is garbage, he said. Do you people even train your staff? My heart started pounding. Madeline stepped forward immediately. Sir, I'm happy to remake it. I don't want a remake. I want a refine, and I'm leaving a review. This place is a joke. Trent muttered something under his breath. I didn't catch it, but the guy did. What did you say to me? Nothing. Trent said, not sounding sorry. The man pointed at him. Unbelievable. I'm posting about this. I know the owner of the building, by the way. You might want to think about that. Madeline's face went still, in a way that scared me more than anger would have. I'll processed your refi, she said, quietly. He smirked, like he'd won something, and stormed out again. The bell jingled and silence filled the space. Once again, then Trent threw his towel on the counter. I'm not dealing with that guy again. Madeline rubbed her forehead. I know he's difficult, but we can't just. He's insane, Mads. Why do you let him talk to you like that? Because yelling back doesn't fix it, she said, voice tight. It just makes a scene. He is already making a scene, Trent shot back. And now he's going to trash us online because you won't ban him. I stood there, feeling like I was watching a crack form in something that had felt solid. Madeline glanced at me, then back at Trent. We'll talk about this later. Trent grabbed his bag from under the counter. Yeah, we will. And he walked out mid-shift. Just left. Madeline closed her eyes for a second, then turned to the next customer with a smile she had to force back into place. Stepped up when the line cleared. You okay? I asked quietly. She nodded too fast. Yeah, just small business stuff. But her hands were shaking when she picked up the milk pitcher. That's when I realized something. Being there wasn't just a cozy cafe, it was Madeline's entire dream. And people like the suit guy and Trent weren't just annoying, they were cracks in the foundation. I had a feeling the worst part of this story hadn't even started yet. After Trent walked out mid-shift, things had been there didn't explode. They just kind of tilted. Like a picture frame that's slightly crooked on the wall. You don't notice it at first, but once you do, it's all you can see. I started coming in earlier. At first, it was an excuse to beat traffic or get a better seat. But, really, I wanted to make sure Madeline wasn't alone. If Mr. Extra Hot showed up again, his real name, I eventually learned, was Darren. I wish I could say that made him feel more human. But it didn't. Madeline told me about him one morning while she was restocking syrups. He owned some kind of consulting firm, she said. At least, that's what he tells everyone within earshot. Of course he does, I muttered. She gave me a tired smile. He's been coming in for about a year. He wasn't always this bad. He's just gotten worse over time. Why not ban him? Her hands stilled for half a second. He's friends with the property manager, she said. Or at least, he says he is. I can't afford to get on the building owner's bad side. My lease is up for renewal in 6 months. Oh. That wasn't just a rude customer. That was leverage. And suddenly his smirk from the other day made a sickening kind of sense still. I said, "There has to be a line." "There is," she said softly. "I'm just trying to figure out where it is without risking losing the commercial space." That stuck with me all day at work. I barely got anything done. When I came back the next morning, Trent was there. Again, like nothing had happened. "Haig," he said to me flatly when I walked in. "Haig." I replied, matching the energy of a damp paper towel. Madeleine acted normal, but there was a carefulness between them now. Like co-workers walking across thin ice. Then, the reviews started. It was a Tuesday morning when Madeleine's face went pale behind the counter. "What?" I asked from my usual seat. She turned her tablet toward me. 1-star worst coffee shop. Experience of my life. Rude staff. Incompetent owner. Drinks always wrong. Avoid at all costs. Username Darren M. There were 3 more on different accounts, but all with the same name, and all posted within the last hour. Were multiple paragraphs long. He mentioned unprofessional behavior, hostile environment, and claimed someone yelled at him and refused service, which had not happened. There's 5-star rating on Yelp, dropped to 4.3 stars overnight. Can you report them? I asked. I can respond, she said quietly. But I can't. Prove he's lying. Over the next week, business dipped. Not dramatically, but enough that Madeleine noticed I tracked daily sales. She told me one evening, while we wiped down tables together. Yes. I'd started helping close sometimes. Don't judge me. We're down about 15%. Because? Of him. Because of the reviews. People check ratings before trying new places. I felt angry in a way that buzzed under my skin. One entitled, "Loud, Miserable Guy," could actually hurt this place then. Darren came in again the next morning. This time, I didn't stay in my seat. I got in line behind him. He launched into his order without greeting anyone. Madeleine made it perfectly. I watched. When she handed it over, he took a sip and dumped it in the trash. Again, "I don't know how you're still in business," he said loudly, making sure the whole shop could hear. This is embarrassing. I stepped forward before I could stop. Myself, dude. What is your problem? The whole shop went quiet. He turned and looked me up and down. Excuse me? You do this every time, I said. My heart was hammering, but I kept going. You order, you complain, you make a scene. If you hate it so much, stop coming. Madeleine whispered. Gail, no, Darren said, holding up a hand. I'd love to hear this. Do you work here? No. Then mind your business. It is my business, I said. You're trying to tank a small shop because your coffee isn't close enough to lava. A couple people snorted. His face turned red. I know the building owner. I could have this place gone in a month. And there it was, out loud. Madeleine's expression went stricken, but something in me clicked. Cool, I said. Then you won't mind if she documents that? He blinked. What? She has cameras, I said, gesturing vaguely upward. She actually did have small ones in the corners, and you just threatened her business over a drink. He looked up instinctively. He didn't say anything else, just grabbed a napkin. You didn't have to do that, she said softly. Yeah, I replied. I did. That night, she checked the cameras. She filed a formal complaint with the property management company, and that's when things got worse. The letter came 2 weeks later, the envelope endorsed, with the building management logo. Madeleine opened it behind the counter before she was even finished with the morning rush. Her face drained of color as she read, What is it? I asked. She handed it to me. Notice of lease violation, customer safety concerns, claimed multiple reports of hostile incidents, unsafe confrontations, and unprofessional conduct toward patrons. My hands shook reading it. This is because of him, she nodded. They're investigating. If they decide I'm violating tenant conduct policies, they can refuse to renew my lease. That's insane. Welcome to small business ownership, she said, but her voice wobbled. Then came the kicker. 2 days later, a health complaint was filed by an anonymous tip. A surprise inspection was scheduled. Madeline was meticulous. I'd seen her scrub baseboards at closing. But stress like that eats at you. I can't lose this place, she said one night while we sat on the curb outside after closing. I put everything into it. My savings, my time, my whole life. You won't, I said, even though I had no idea how to make that true. Inside, Trent was mopping aggressively with the door open. He'd been in a foul mood for days maybe. If we didn't let random customers fight our battles, we wouldn't be in this mess, he muttered. I stood up. You think this is my fault? I think stirring the pot doesn't help, he snapped. Now management thinks we're hostile. Madeline stepped between us. Stop, both of you. But something about his tone stuck with me. That night, I couldn't sleep, so I did what any normal, well-adjusted person does at 1 a.m. I looked at the cafe's Yelp listing. There were new bad reviews, all posted by different usernames, but with similar wording. Rude staff. Owner is unstable. Felt unsafe. All posted late at night from accounts with no profile pictures and no other reviews. I screenshotted everything and sent it to Madeline. Her reply came 2 minutes later. I bet I can tell you who's doing this. The next morning, she came in early and went straight to the back office. I followed a few minutes later. She had security footage pulled up on her laptop. Not from the cafe, but from the hallway outside the back entrance. Timestamp was at 11:47 p.m. A figure stood near the staff door, with their hood up and face partially turned. But when he looked up at the camera for half a second under the light, we could clearly see his perfect hair and sharp jawline. Tranti was holding his phone, typing right outside of the employee Wi-Fi range extender at the exact time most of the reviews were posted. My stomach dropped. He's been late to shifts, Madeline said quietly. Complaining about ours. Thought he was just burnt out. He's trying to sink you, I said. Tears welled in her eyes, but her jaw set not anymore. That afternoon, she printed screenshots of the fake reviews, the timestamps, and the hallway footage stills, and she called a staff meeting. AY was invited. Sitting in the corner like an emotional support customer, Trent walked in, already defensive. What's this about? Madeline didn't yell. She just slid the papers across the table. Do you want to explain? He looked at the photos, and for a second, he said nothing. Then he laughed. You're kidding, right? You were here after hours, she said. Using the Wi-Fi. The reviews match the times. So what? You're spying on me now? You were outside the locked employee entrance at midnight, she said, voice shaking but steady. Why, Trent? His face twisted. Because I'm tired, he snapped. Tired of working for someone who plays nice while customers walk all over us. Tired of crap pay. Tired of this place acting like it's some big happy family when it's just you pretending everything's fine. So you try to destroy it? She hissed. You were going to lose it anyway. He shot back. At least, this way, I don't go down with you. Silence filled the room. Madeline took a breath. Give me your key. He stared at her. You're firing me? Obviously I'm firing you. He threw the key on the table so hard it skidded. Off. Good luck, he said. and walked out. The bell jingled one last time behind him. Madeline stood there shaking. I stepped forward and pulled her into a hug without asking. She buried her face in my shoulder. I can't believe I didn't see it. She said you were busy building something good, I said. You don't expect sabotage from inside. We still had Darren, and yes, I'm invested in this now. We still had the lease investigation. We still had a health inspection coming, but now we had proof after Trent was gone. The coffee shop felt different, quieter and lighter, but also like we were bracing for impact. Madeline submitted everything to building management. The video of Darren threatening her business, the fake review misdumps, the hallway footage of Trent. She organized it all in a folder so detailed, it would have impressed a courtroom drama. I don't want revenge, she told me while we sat at our usual window table after closing. I just want the truth on record. You deserve better than survival mode, said. She gave me a tired smile. You've been here every day through this. Yeah, I said. Funny how a place I walked into by accident became the place I care about most. Her eyes held mine for a second longer than usual. The health inspection came first. I showed up early that morning, even though I had work. Madeline had been there since 5 in the morning, hair tied back, checklist in hand. When the inspector arrived, he was polite but serious. Thermometers out, gloves on, and clipboard ready. I watched Madeline answer every question calmly. Show logs, open storage, and explain procedures. She knew her stuff. An hour later, he nodded. Everything looks good here, he said. Better than most places I visit. Madeline exhaled so hard she had to grab the counter. One crisis down, then came the lease meeting. A representative from building management scheduled a visit to observe operations. Corporate speak for, we're deciding your future. Fortunately for Darren, I picked that exact morning for another performance. He stormed in mid-rush, already scowling. I don't have time for incompetence today, he announced to no one in particular. Behind him, a woman in a navy blazer stepped in quietly, looking around with a tablet in hand. She gave Madeline a polite nod and stepped to the side of Darren. Hi, she said. I'm Claire from Building Management. Just here to check in. Madeline's smile froze slightly. Of course. Welcome. Darren stepped forward and slapped his card on the counter. Large caramel macchiato. Extra hot. And don't mess it up like usual. Claire's eyebrows lifted just a fraction. Madeline made the drink perfectly. I watched like it was a live sports event. She handed it over. It's very hot. He took a sip and paused. Then, like clockwork, he ripped off the lid and dumped the entire drink into the trash. I don't know how you're still open, he said loudly. This place is a joke. Claire looked from the trash can to the untouched pastry case, to Madeline, who was standing there with her hands calmly folded. Sir, Claire said, stepping forward, voice cool and professional. I'm with Building Management. Is there an actual issue with your beverage? Darren blinked. It's wrong. Like always. Claire turned to Madeline. Was the drink prepared to standard? Yes, Madeline said evenly. We can remake it, but this has happened several times. Claire looked back at Darren. Have you filed repeated complaints? I shouldn't have to, he snapped. This place shouldn't be in business. Claire studied him for a long second. Then she said, Mr. Darren Mitchell, correct? He hesitated. Yeah, I recognize your name. You consult for several tenants in this building? His posture shifted, smugness creeping back. That's right. She gave a tight smile. I'll be noting this interaction in my report. Something in her tone made my stomach flip in a good way. Darren scoffed, grabbed napkins, and walked out muttering. The bell jingled. Claire turned to Madeline. "I'm sorry you've been dealing with that?" Madeline blinked. "You saw all that?" "Every second." "It was hard not to," Claire said. "And I've reviewed the materials you've submitted, including the video of him threatening your lease." Madeline and I exchanged a look. Claire continued, "For what it's worth, we value stable, community-focused tenants, not people who harass them, no matter how closely we work with them." I swear the air in the room changed a week later. Madeline got the email. Lease renewed. For 5 years, she called me instead of texting. "I got it," she said, voice shaking. "Gail, I got it." I left work early. I pretended to have an appointment as an excuser when I walked into being there. She ran out from behind the counter and hugged me right there in front of everyone. "We're not closing," she said into my shoulder. I never doubted it. I laughed through what were definitely happy tears, but there was one more piece of news. Claire came by in person that afternoon with a small box of pastries from another tenant as a congratulations on the next 5 years gift on her way out. She paused by our table. "Oh, and Madeline," she said, "we've decided to discontinue our professional relationship with Mr. Mitchell. His conduct toward other tenants raised pretty sizable concerns." Madeline blinked. "You dropped him as a client?" Claire gave a polite smile. "We prefer working with people who build things up, not tear them down." After she left, Madeline just stared at me. "Is this real?" she asked. "Yeah," I said. "Turns out, being a decent human has long-term benefits." That night, after closing, we sat on the floor behind the counter, eating slightly squished Celebration croissants. The string lights were still on. "The shop was quiet and warm, you know," she said, nudging my knee with hers. "If you hadn't walked in that first day, I'd still think banana bread was just okay," I said. She smiled softly. "You stood up for this place like it was yours." "It kind of feels like it is," I admitted. "Or, at least, it feels like home." Her expression changed. She looked nervous. "Gail," she said, "are you asking what I think you're asking?" "I'm trying to," I said. "I just don't have a chalkboard sign to hide behind." She laughed that same laugh from the first day. "Good," she said. "Because I was hoping you'd ask." So I leaned in. It wasn't dramatic. No fireworks, no music swelling. Just a soft, certain kiss in a coffee shop that almost didn't make it. The bell over the door didn't ring. The espresso machine was quiet. And for the first time in months, Madeline wasn't fighting to keep her dream alive. She was just standing in it with me.